Welcome to the Sweet Slumber Podcast, the good, the bad, and the sleep deprived. I'm your host, Meredith Bruff. I'm here to teach you about my supportive, nurturing sleep solutions for infants and young children. We'll also be discussing the highs and lows of motherhood, what will help you feel whole and rested, and I'll explain what you can do now to help your little one thrive in every way for many years to come. I am excited to help you experience more fulfillment as a mother. Hello, welcome to the show. I'm super excited to make this episode. It's actually something I've been wanting to do for, year and a half, something like that. But for sure for the last year, because I made a presentation on intuition in front of a group of 200 women last April, and it was so much fun. I had such a great time. I was like, yeah, this is my thing. I love speaking. So I had to tweak some things to make this work so it wasn't to a group, and also make it apply to what I'm feeling and living today, the experiences that are meaningful to me now. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm a sleep coach, and I have changed my approach name. I used to call it supported sleep, and now it's called baby-centered sleep. And I really love that shift because it is truly, truly an approach that is baby-centered. It's also mom-centered and customized to each child's needs, but baby-centered just means so much to me. So I'm really excited about the different ways I've really aligned with what I believe in through my new logo and through this new title for my approach and my methods. So just remember that. Look for baby-centered. Today, I want to help you understand intuition better and also help you trust your own intuition and feel confident in following it. But I also want to talk about how my intuition helped me find my dream job and what makes all the difference when it comes to handling stress, making big decisions, protecting my family, and more. It's going to be a great, great topic today. I hope you enjoy it. So what do you think of when I say intuition? I'm going to give you a little moment to think here. What do you think of when I say intuition? So most people would say instincts, mother's intuition, your gut, listening to your heart, listening to that little voice in your head. Yep, all of the above. Everybody interchanges instincts and intuition, I would say. But I'm going to help you understand that there's actually a difference. And also point out that there are neurons in the stomach and in the heart, as well as the head brain. So we really need to pay attention to our instincts and our intuition more and trust them more instead of thinking they're like woo-woo or like dumb. Some people just disregard them, but they're actually super important. Some scientists actually say that we have 3 brains. We have our gut, we have our heart, and we have our head brain. Isn't that interesting? So I want to explain the difference between these two. So instincts are the part of you that focuses on survival and safety, protection. It's your gut. We're wired to do things automatically. For example, this is one of my favorite examples of this. When a baby cries, it takes like a split second for your body to get prepared to jump into action. They've studied this, and like the muscles in your body like wake up the second there's a cry before your brain has registered that there is a cry. Isn't that amazing? And this is for moms, not for everybody. So moms have this great, great instinct for attending to a baby's needs. It's pretty cool. And then when we talk about intuition, we're talking about how our hearts lead us, or your soul. You get a sense or a feeling, and it's not the same. You pay attention to a feeling or a sense. You might have insight or information without knowing or being able to explain it. You have abilities that come naturally. And I have to say that this is such a blessing to have these 2 gifts besides our brain. We need to use them all. As little children, until we're like 2 years old, we depend heavily on our intuition. We follow verbal and nonverbal cues. We communicate that way. We're very in tune to like an emotional connection. And then around 2, we start to really pay attention to our logical brain. And as a child, and you guys can probably agree with me, they are really good at listening to both and maybe less on the logic side. But once we enter school, we get programmed to just really focus on logic. And that's a shame. We have to reprogram ourselves to pay attention to intuition. So I'm really excited to help you with that right now. And I believe that all these gifts come from God. So I want to say, God is so good. Wait till you hear some of my stories. You might even agree with me that He's so good to give us these gifts. Today, there's a lot that I could be sharing. I've had to pare it down because I don't want this episode to be too long. I might even have 2 episodes on this. It's just an amazing topic, and I have so many experiences to share. So I just want to start by saying that it took me a long time to recognize this gift. I really didn't give it much thought until the last few years. And I think that's because of my work and how much I wanted other moms to just know about this gift and listen to it. Maybe I saw a lack of confidence and understanding in people. I don't even know what started me down the path of really focusing on this, but I think it's beautiful. So looking back at my life, one of my most distinct memories of my intuition helping me, not that I was aware of it now, but I understand now, or sorry, I wasn't aware of it then. My intuition played a big part in helping me decide to marry my husband. And that's a really big deal, you know, who you live with, who you're committed to and have a relationship with is everything. It affects your life in every way. This is such a big deal. And I just want to say that it also made sense logically. It felt right in my gut and my heart. And I prayed a lot, and I felt an inner peace from all of that. And you know why that matters? Not only because of the way choosing a partner touches our life in every way. We dated for 10 days. This is almost embarrassing because it's not that I endorse dating someone for such a short time, but it's all we needed. We needed 10 days, and we were very open and honest, and we didn't play any games, and neither one of us was afraid of commitment. We were ready. We wanted to get married. I was 21. He was 22. But I had dated so much already. My husband had served a mission for our church for 2 years, and so he was very mature for his age. I'm not sure about my maturity level, but I was really anxious to start my family. And you know what? We were apart for 3 out of our 5-month engagement. 3 months of our 5-month engagement. And we've been married for 26 years now. So yeah, I was right to trust my heart. I love him so much. He makes me happy. He's a wonderful husband and father. So I'm really grateful for that. And then my heart also told me that I should keep having children. And I'm so glad I did. I have these 5 beautiful children that are everything to me. Motherhood it's right up there next to being married to my husband, just equally important. So I want to help you identify how your intuition works. Let's break this down. Have you ever had a feeling that you offended someone? Some of us are very sensitive, like me. I'm highly sensitive. We overthink, or we're afraid of offending someone. So you have to put that aside and think about times when you just had a feeling that something was wrong in a relationship. Maybe you just felt something uncomfortable. Maybe you just had a feeling they were upset with you. And then when you talk to the person, you find out you were right. It's kind of exciting in a way. It's a hard thing to work through, of course, but it's exciting when you're right, you know? Have you ever noticed that your spouse, your partner, someone you're dating was, I think, kind of mean and grumpy? And then you thought to yourself, what the heck is going on? And you're like on that point, at that point of like, we're going to fight. I am getting really defensive and mad at you. But in those cases, I have often gotten a sense, this is probably from experience, that there's something wrong with my husband. And it's, even though this happens all the time when I notice and I'm right, I still get surprised when I ask, are you okay? Is something bothering you? Do you have a headache? He'll say, yeah. It's amazing. He'll tell me. And I'm like, you know what? That was so worth stopping, slowing down, and paying attention to that sense I got instead of lashing out and getting mean. Because then I'm able to help him feel better instead of fighting, you know? So there's been so many times in my life when I was looking for something And then suddenly a thought popped in my head and I knew exactly where it was and I found it. That's your intuition. It could also be God, because if you're praying and it happens like that, then I think they're connected. Remembering things like right before you leave, you're running out the door and all of a sudden you just remember that you need something. It doesn't always happen. I wish it always would. I hate it when I drive somewhere for a while and then I have to go back or I have to go without, but this this happens, or maybe at the grocery store and you just suddenly remember something you needed. Another time that intuition kicks in for me is like I'm driving and I'm not really thinking, especially at night. Maybe I'm tired. And all of a sudden I just have this thought, watch for deer. And I slow down and I look around and seriously right in front of me, there'll be a bunch of deer. Another time I have my intuition kick in is maybe when I get a feeling that I should connect with someone, I should reach out to them. Sometimes they need me. Sometimes I need them. And I always know. Other things that are other experiences that are similar to that is when my kids need me. And that's awesome because mother's intuition is a real thing. Can't tell you how many times I've texted one of my kids and it was exactly what they needed when they needed it. So I feel like it's a beautiful gift. There's 3 ways that my intuition helps me in my daily life that I want to share with you. Besides these other examples, those examples are real and they happen to me, but I just really wanted to help you think about times when you've noticed your intuition was helping you kind of identify that it's working. Some people don't believe that. So a big one, especially as a mom, is a feeling that someone is sick, not feeling well. I had this experience that was really kind of a big deal. My son has always had issues with his lungs since he was a baby. He got bronchiolitis, and I think that it must have affected him because every single time he gets some type of cold, he has croup. And if any of you can relate to this, it's really hard because they're waking up at night and you're like trying to help open up that airway, using a nebulizer, or we would go in the bathroom and turn on the shower and get steam. And anyway, so he's just really prone to these types of illnesses. And I think when he was like 10 or 11, maybe 12, I don't remember exactly how old he was, I heard him coughing and I was like, oh man, buddy, what's going on with you? And he says, Mom, you know what? My cough is no big deal. It's fine. My neck hurts so bad. I can barely move my head and it's just been bothering me. And I got this kind of scared feeling inside that it was like meningitis or something. So I called the doctor right away and told him how he was feeling, and they wanted to see us within the hour. So we went over there. I saw a different doctor that I didn't even really know. And when she was checking him out, she actually was more concerned about his cough and sent us to the ER right away. And first of all, you have to know that my husband's very careful about what medical expenses we incur. And the ER is not cheap. So I knew this was going to be a little scary for him. On the way there, I was having almost like a tug of war battle in my head, like, oh my gosh, do I really need to do this? Seems kind of a dramatic thing. We're going to the hospital. And I was worried about his neck, but she's worried about his cough. Well, it was Friday, end of the workday, just about to be the weekend. And she said, we don't have equipment here if he needs an x-ray or anything like that. So we just want you to go to the hospital. And I was questioning myself. My husband was telling me to go home all the way till I got there. We get in the waiting room and Thomas is like playing. He's fine. He's wiggling his head around. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is such a waste. I have to tell you that I have wasted trips for sure. Like, I don't really ignore these feelings that something's wrong, or like if a kid thinks they have a broken bone or something, but I've wasted some trips just going and finding out that they were perfectly fine. So the doubt, is there for a reason, but I still think it's really important to listen just in case. So anyways, before I can cancel the appointment, I've already checked in. As I'm doubting this decision, the ER attendant, whatever nurse came and got us and brought us in the room. And when the doctor came in and checked him out and she ordered an x-ray, right away they saw pneumonia. I was shocked. I was so shocked because his symptoms weren't bad. Like, he was slowing down and I think he'd had like a low grade fever. And this was shocking to me, but they said it was early. We caught it early. And what a blessing that was to catch it early on a Friday, to be able to get antibiotics, not let it get worse. My husband had pneumonia once, was in the hospital, and it was really bad. Like, he was coughing up blood. It was super scary. And so you really don't want your child to go through that. And I didn't want him to have any further lung problems. And, you just want to protect your baby, right? This is my baby. So I was just so grateful that I didn't give in to all the doubts. And it definitely taught me a lot. Like, trust the doctor's instincts or intuition, trust your own, like, what's wrong with you? It's worth it. So yeah, by Monday, he was already feeling really good. He was already doing really well. So I was just really grateful. So we've had some other experiences, lots and lots of other experiences. And I think the major one is when I listened to my heart and gut telling me something was wrong with my kids health wise, causing their ADD. And that's our tongue tie story. I had a feeling that I had one and that I had a sleep disorder, and I was right about all of this. And so if you want to learn more about that story, part 1, there's a podcast episode, look for that one, about tongue ties and sleep disorders. I need to make another podcast about that because there's definitely been some changes in the last year and some things to share and report and progress too. So getting our tongue ties treated has saved my kids from serious health issues that I have. I have these health issues, and I'm helping them avoid developing them, improving their mental health. Isn't that amazing? And greatly reducing their ADD symptoms. Super cool. They're sleeping better. They have energy. Sorry, I'm wiping my eye repeatedly from being teared up. So this might be a little bit of a long story, so bear with me. But the next one I want to talk about is what I kind of introduced in the beginning, was that trusting my intuition helped me get my dream job. I love saying dream, no pun intended, and help other people. It's helped me change lives in a big way. So I was 45 in 2017, and I was thinking about going back to school. My kids were all in elementary school and older. They were up, somewhere in high school. My youngest was 9. My oldest was 17. That was my plan. I had waited months to start school. I had decided like the fall before. This was summertime in 2017. I knew that I was going to school that fall. And then I had this crazy experience that changed everything. And I had intuition leading me the whole time. So I met this lady. I don't know if you guys have heard this story before. I don't want to make it a long story, but I just want to share that when I was asked to go help her was during a move, she had these little kids. She had twin babies. She was trying to move out of her place. She got in a fight with her boyfriend. She was doing it all on her own while being sick and feeling awful. And she was very sleep deprived. She didn't have the energy. She had I think a sinus infection. So she was just miserable. But people from church called me over just to help out with the kids. So I go over there and I'm watching these little babies and I'm noticing things about them. My intuition was kicking in and saying, something's not right. They're not doing great. These babies aren't thriving. And then I talked to the mom later that day and she told me how they were really, really not doing well. Not that their health was poor. I mean, I noticed they were pretty lethargic and barely eating, and their cat naps were super short, and they were like every 3 or 4 hours, which is too long, too far apart for 2-month-olds. But she told me, how they were doing that during the night too, hardly eating, hardly sleeping. And honestly, my instincts kicked in pretty quickly. Like, oh, I know what to do. I know how to help her. And I had been doing this for 15 years in my daycare. I had helped with my kids sleep first. All 4 out of 5 helped them become strong sleepers. So a lot of experience. And I have this protective, giving heart. So I wanted to take care of her. So I really did take these babies under my wing for 4 days and nights in my home, take care of them to give her time to rest and settle in during her move. And I did my magic and brought them back to her. And they were sleeping for 8 hours at night. They were on a schedule. They were eating great. They were napping. They were sleeping for 8 hours at night. That's huge for a 2-month-old. But these were twins, It was really exciting. And she was at a breaking point in her life where she was, especially being on her own, single, and she had postpartum depression and anxiety. She was just like, I can't take care of these babies. I really almost need to give them up for adoption. So this literally changed her life and gave her so much hope and honestly kept a family together. That's huge. How could this not be a huge awakening for me? It really was. I realized what power and ability that I had, and I really was inspired and wanted to do more with it. And just the experience, realizing how bad her sleep deprivation was and how much that was impacting her life, really made me want to help more people too. And so I had this like feeling in my heart, there's something to this. You need to think about this. You need to explore this. And so my brain, my heart, my gut, all the things worked together. And I ended up interviewing people, and out of like 30 women, there was only one who had not struggled with sleep with her little ones. And everybody else did. And everybody else said, oh man, I wish I would have had your help. I wish I could have known you back then. And so I just felt really charged, and I prayed, and I felt really at peace, and I knew this was a good idea. So I started my business, and it all came from this experience where I followed my intuition. I used my abilities to help. I listened to that feeling that I should help. And then, with my business too, I had a feeling about that. And I listened to all of my brains. And this sounds so funny. Sorry. It changed everything. It's a big deal. This job is third on my list or fourth on my list. There's God, there's my husband, there's my children, there's this job. This is how important it is to me. It's my passion. I have this huge dream to change the world, and I'm just so grateful for the tiny little things that happened in the beginning that got this ball rolling. So just a side note, one of the reasons I had been so involved in sleep before was because it was so important to me as a mom. I mean, having good sleepers that are predictable, it means feeling great as a mom. So I wanted to help my daycare families with that. I gave them the gift of sleep so they could feel great as moms, working moms. It gives you structure, order, predictability, quiet time to yourself, time with your spouse or partner, breaks, good sleep, energy, focus. I mean, there's so many benefits. So I really wanted to give that to other people. And that's why I went into this work. When we have all of those gifts in our life, we might take them for granted. But the moms who are just so sleep deprived, they mean everything to them. My intuition has been an amazing gift to me during the period of building up my business as well. There were so many people who were part of my life, or sorry, my business growth. I would have a feeling to ask somebody about something. I'd find out that they had the ability or the talent that I needed. They had the connections that I needed. My intuition has helped me network with people, and that's been a blessing to my business. So that's been really cool. So just to explain a little bit more about intuition, I've kind of mentioned this a little bit. It can come from experience, but not all. That's not the only piece. But that's just really good to know as a mother, that what you're doing, like getting to know your child and trying different things, that gives you experience, and that like just really heightens your intuition. It improves it. You're gaining knowledge, you're practicing. There's also this sense of knowing things without being able to prove or explain them. That's another piece of intuition. Things that just come to you, thoughts that just come to you, ideas, maybe even a sense of what's going on with your child. When someone talks to me about any type of issue, things that are going on with their little one, they often have a feeling about the why. And I think that's really cool. There's also some assuming that goes on and some myths. So I help people kind of clear those out so that they can really listen to their intuition clear and trust it. So getting a feeling that something's right, that's going to work, that something and you just can't explain it, that's very common. And I have experienced that so many times in my work. And it's actually a big piece of the puzzle in getting me to where I am now. that sense of knowing something without being able to explain it helped me discover many of the things that I teach now. I knew them, I researched them later, I saw them in practice. And, it was usually the research was the last part. Being able to explain it and have science backing me up, that's been really, really thrilling. But we don't need that, as moms, when it comes to your own life, you don't need science to tell you or logic to tell you something's right. You got to try these things, get the experience, and trust yourself. Some of the things I didn't realize, some of the intuitive gifts that I had that I didn't recognize before I started my work, was knowing how kids feel. I just know. I just have this sense. I know what they need. I know what will help them. I know how to help them with sleep. I know how to help moms feel better, feel calmer. I know how to reassure them and speak to their heart. And I didn't know that I had these gifts until I began this career. So it's been pretty awesome. And I know that everybody has their own set of gifts that aren't the same as mine, but they are intuitive gifts. And that's amazing. I used to doubt myself and worry that I wouldn't be able to solve challenges before I get on a call. I'd get nervous, especially knowing like something was really challenging. I'd be like, oh, just like nervous about what was coming. Like, oh man, am I going to be able to help these people? But over time, I saw repeatedly that my intuition would kick in. I would have the answers. I'd be able to help them. And now I don't worry like that. I just know that I need to get on a call or I need to do a visit, because that's when my intuition kicks in. Isn't that awesome? So cool. I wish that I could talk to you guys, like hear your feedback so that I could hear your stories as well. If you have any stories, please email me, send me your stories. You should be able to find my contact info on my website or in the show notes or the links that are here. Please tell me your stories. I would love to hear from you. So I want to just quickly list a couple of other experiences that took intuition and prayer, because they're stories that I could talk about a lot longer. So I'll just give you a little bit of a taste. These are pretty exciting. Before I got engaged to my husband, he dropped the wedding ring. We were walking around gardens, beautiful buildings. We were in a downtown city, and he dropped the ring and didn't know it. Do you know how scary that is when you're 22 years old and you had to co-sign with your dad and spend all this money, and to know that the ring is gone is the worst feeling. He was so upset. And the sad part was that he didn't know until he went to propose to me. So he's like just frantic. And it's such a funny story. We don't have this beautiful story that other people have where everything just magically happened. But this is also part of who we are, as part of our story. So I don't mind. So when this happened, you can imagine my husband was really stressed. So he's like swearing in his brain and he's just ticked off and mad. And I'm praying, because I'm like just naturally a very faithful person, faith-filled. So I'm praying and I'm just focusing and I'm just listening to my heart, and I'm studying the ground. We actually walked for like 2 blocks. That's a long way. And I don't mean just like sidewalks through a city. I mean like around gardens and across the street, and just trying to retrace our steps. And I found the ring in the middle of a sidewalk. It was dark outside. There were no street lights, but both God and my intuition led me right to it. It was glowing on the ground. I swear. Isn't that amazing? Oh my gosh. Okay, another big one. This is a crazy story as well. We lost a GoPro. My husband mounted it on the back of the boat, but I didn't know it was there. I just wasn't aware because I wasn't paying attention. And this wasn't even his GoPro. And I think we dropped off our kids at the beach, and the rope that was holding onto a tube knocked the GoPro off the boat. And me not even knowing it was there delayed this communication between my husband. So I'm like, what was that? Did something just splash? And then I turn to my husband and says, hey, I think something just fell off the back of the boat. And he stops immediately. Well, he's already been going. He's already been driving the boat. We don't know where it fell off. Like, where in the heck did it fall off, right? So he stops the boat. He backs up, just kind of guesses where to look. We spent a half an hour looking, and everybody's praying. We prayed together as a family. We prayed in our minds while we were looking. We were just trying really hard to diligently look and have faith and not be worried and do our best. Well, this water, you can't even really see your hand if you just put it under the surface of the top of the water. Sorry, that is the surface. You can't really see your hand. It's that murky. And at the bottom of the lake, it's like deep mud, and it's sticky mud. It like sticks to your feet. So number one, disgusting experience walking around in the mud trying to find this. But also like, it was scary. This is going to sink into this mud and disappear forever. So we felt really determined to try and find it then, but we didn't. And my daughter had to go back home for some reason. Like, we were on a schedule for once. And so we had to leave. And as we were driving home, my husband and I just had this feeling that we should go back. And we were going to go camping the next week. And this was like in 5-6 days that we were going to be back at the beach. We had to just really let go. It was expensive too, so it was really hard, but we just had to let go and tell ourselves and our kids we were going to be back next week. We brainstormed and thought, well, let's bring a rake. The kids brought goggles, hoping that they could actually see under the water, which you absolutely can't. It's like being blind. It's pretty bad. So anyways, we get to the lake and we pray and we walk into the water. Everyone started searching. I think at one point they did like this thing where everybody was touching hands. So they covered all the ground around them and kind of walked forward. But then everybody was off on their own just looking. Because like I said, we didn't even know where to look. And my son was using the rake and he hit a big clam. So he brings up a clam. Oh, dang it. That's not it. And like right after that, he hit something else and he pulled up the GoPro. It was amazing. And you know that this only took about 8 minutes. So anyways, I know that God played a big part in this, but also just the fact that we had the feeling that things were going to be okay and that we should come back, that we should try again. The idea of bringing the rake, knowing where to look, all these things, I just feel like intuition really played a part in this. It's so cool how that happened to us. It's just such a cool story. So anyways, I've trusted my intuition thousands of times without even realizing it. And there's been times when I've reminded myself to trust these feelings and ideas, and it has always paid off. I just want to ask you a couple of questions, something for you to think about for the next few days. And this is a little different than what I've been talking about. Is there something in your heart that you're ignoring? Is there something that you need to do with your life? Something you want to do with your life? Is there something you want to change in general? Or is there something that you should be doing every day differently? I think this is just a really good thing. Once you really start to trust your intuition, you're recognizing when it's helping you, you're acting on it, and you're starting to feel more confident. These questions could really help you discover if you're missing out on something. If there's something you need to align your life with, maybe you're on the wrong path. Maybe your career isn't the right thing to do. Maybe you want to come home and be with your child. Maybe there's something you want to do for yourself with your health, your fitness. Maybe you want to meditate. These are the things that I'm talking about. I really hope that you can ask yourself. So I'm going to ask the questions again. What is your heart telling you to do with your life in general? What is your heart telling you to do differently in your day-to-day? See if you can discover anything you're missing out on, ideas you should pay attention to, or, what is it that your heart wants to tell you? It will be worth the effort. Before you know it, you'll really trust your intuition and it will bless your life. I'm positive that each of us have this gift of intuition. And I know that being in tune with it, believing in it, and following it could absolutely change your life. Before we go, I'd like to share some information with you because this might be appealing to you, and I would really love to connect you with your dream. So I have a sleep coach training school, and many of my students have given up another job to come home and be with their children. They want flexibility. They want a rewarding, meaningful job. Some of my students are already sleep consultants or doulas or newborn care specialists, and they would just want to learn how to improve sleep using my approach. And then there's others who are staying home with their kids and they just want to make space for a part-time career. They want extra money. So if you can relate to any of this, please consider training with me to become a sleep coach. Now, I recognize that everybody has different interests and different dreams. So I'm not trying to make my work your dream. But if you're really interested in sleep and science and development of children and understanding child development, and maybe you just love sleep, then another thing is love children, love working with moms. And this could be a really good fit for you. And I honor your dreams and what's best for each person. I just know that there's so many people out there who are just perfect for this work. If you are interested in learning more, there's more information under sweetslumbertime.com. Look that up. And there, at the top of the screen, it'll say Sleep Coach School. And I will also attach the link in the notes so you can check it out. And while you're in there, when you go, click on the link for setting up a call. That's usually how I interview people, help them or find out for myself if it's a good fit, but also help you answer your questions and give you some things to think about. So thanks again for being here with me today. I really hope that you'll do the homework to learn how to trust your intuition and see if maybe there's something that needs to change in your life. Maybe this could change your life. So take care until next time. We'll see you soon.
Thank you for listening to the Sweet Slumber Podcast, the good, the bad, and the sleep deprived. Ready to understand your child better? Then take the sleep temperament quiz. Reveal your child's sleep nature and unlock the solutions to your exhaustion in just 5 minutes.